Did you know that 70% of young people in Ireland are thinking about packing their bags and leaving the Emerald Isle? Ireland, a country known for its rolling green hills, friendly locals, and rich history, might seem like a dream destination. But beneath the surface of its high GDP and picturesque landscapes lies a different story. In this video, we're going to uncover the hidden challenges of life in Ireland, from its struggling infrastructure to its sky-high living costs. So let's pull back the curtain on the real Ireland and discover why so many young Irish folks are considering a change of scenery. Let's kick things off with Ireland's infrastructure, a topic that might make you appreciate your local bus service a bit more. Despite its reputation as a modern European nation, Ireland's public services and road management are struggling to keep up. According to the National Investment Framework for Transport in Ireland, urban congestion is becoming a significant issue, particularly in Dublin, where transport networks are already approaching capacity. If you're planning to live outside the big cities, you'd better get used to the idea of owning a car. Public transportation in suburban and rural areas is about as reliable as Irish weather, which is to say, not very. But here's the kicker, even if you do have a car, you're not out of the woods yet. Traffic jams are as common as sheep in the countryside, especially during rush hour. And don't even think about calling an Uber, it's not available in Ireland. Instead, you'll have to rely on a local app called Free Now, which works similarly but might leave you longing for more options. You might have heard that Ireland has a high GDP per capita, but don't be fooled, the average Joe isn't rolling in euros. The truth is, Ireland's wealth isn't quite as impressive as it seems on paper. Why? Well, it's all thanks to some clever accounting by big multinational companies. These corporate giants set up shop in Ireland to take advantage of its tax system, moving their profits around in a financial dance that makes Ireland's GDP look like it's had one too many pints of Guinness. But for the average Irish worker, the reality is quite different. Salaries in Ireland are often lower than in other countries with similar living costs. To put it in perspective, a software developer in Ireland might earn around 62,500 euros, while their counterpart in the US could be pocketing a cool $156,800, as highlighted by Glassdoor. It's enough to make you wonder if that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is just for the lucky few. Hold on to your wallets, folks, because living in Ireland isn't cheap. In fact, it's the second most expensive country in the European Union when it comes to goods and services. Prices here are a whopping 34% higher than the EU average. If you're moving from the UK thinking you're already used to high prices, brace yourself. Ireland is 20% more expensive than its British neighbor. Let's talk about filling up your car. The fuel tax in Ireland is steeper than the cliffs of Moher, sitting at over 50%. This means you could be paying twice as much for petrol as you would in the US. On average, Irish drivers fork out about 2,189 euros per year just on fuel. That's a lot of green for a bit of go juice. Statista reported that fuel prices have steadily increased over recent years. And it's not just fuel that'll drain your bank account. Car insurance, mortgages, and everyday expenses all come with eye-watering price tags. It's enough to make even a leprechaun think twice about his finances. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, or should we say, the lack of rooms. Ireland is facing a severe housing crisis. Finding a place to live is about as easy as catching a leprechaun and just as expensive. In 2022, there were only 851 properties available for rent in the entire country. That's for a population of 5.1 million people. This shortage has led to some wild scenes, with long queues forming on Dublin streets as people desperately try to snag a place to live. Renting a modest two-bedroom apartment in the suburbs of Dublin could set you back around 2,000 euros per month. Many students end up sharing rooms with friends just to make ends meet. According to the Journal, if you're thinking of buying, you might need that pot of gold after all. Banks often see foreigners as risky borrowers, so getting a mortgage can be more challenging than winning an arm wrestling match with Finn McCool. Before we continue exploring the lesser-known aspects of Irish life, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more eye-opening content about life around the world. You might think that with all these challenges, at least healthcare would be a breeze. Think again. While Ireland does offer healthcare to all residents, getting treatment is a bit like waiting for a four-leaf clover to grow. It takes time and a lot of patience. The Health Service Executive, HSE, stated that if you have a non-life-threatening issue and need urgent care, you might find yourself twiddling your thumbs for 10 to 14 hours in the waiting room. The reason? Ireland's national healthcare system is in a constant state of crisis, with too many patients, not enough money, and doctors leaving for other English-speaking countries faster than you can say, "top of the morning." Finding a doctor or dentist can be as challenging as understanding Irish slang on your first day in the country. Hospitals are often overcrowded, leading to scenes that would make St. Patrick himself shake his head in dismay. Many locals opt for private healthcare just to avoid the long waits and uncertainty. If you're dreaming of working in Ireland, you should set your sights on Dublin. The capital city is where it's at when it comes to job opportunities, especially in the tech sector. With its direct flights to major cities in Europe and the US East Coast, Dublin has become a hub for international companies. The 2024 job market report highlighted that Dublin is experiencing robust economic activity and high demand for skilled labor. But here's the rub. If you're not in Dublin, your job prospects might be slimmer than a leprechaun's waistline. Rural areas in Ireland are still recovering from the recession, with fewer jobs in factories and local businesses. This has led to a mass exodus of young people from smaller towns and villages, either moving abroad or flocking to Dublin. So unless you're planning to set up shop in the capital, finding work might be more brutal than perfecting your Irish accent. Now, let's lighten the mood a bit and talk about some of Ireland's unique cultural aspects. First up, the language. Yes, they speak English, but it's English with a twist. Irish people love their slang, and it can leave newcomers feeling more confused than a tourist in a Dublin pub during a rugby match. Clink Hostels commented that instead of asking "how are you," you might hear "what's the crack?" And don't be surprised if everything is described as grand. It can mean anything from okay to perfect, depending on the context and tone. Speaking of pubs, let's raise a glass to Ireland's drinking culture. It's as much a part of Irish life as Shamrocks and St. Patrick's Day. Going to the pub after work, watching the sunset with a pint, or even toasting to someone's life after they've passed. It's all a part of the Irish way of life. But here's the kicker. While the Irish love their drinks, recent government policies have made it increasingly expensive to enjoy a pint. Ireland now has the highest alcohol tax in Europe, making it the most expensive country for alcohol in the EU. So if you're planning to enjoy the pub culture, make sure your wallet is as sturdy as your liver. The Irish government takes some exciting approaches to various aspects of life. Take smoking, for example. Ireland was the first country in the world to introduce a nationwide ban on smoking in workplaces, including bars and restaurants. The health manager states that if you get caught lighting up where you shouldn't, you could face a fine of up to €3,347. That's enough to make anyone think twice before reaching for a cigarette. However, the most intriguing policy is Ireland's approach to marriage. Unlike many countries, Ireland doesn't handle divorce cases in the traditional sense. Instead, couples can negotiate the length of their marriage, anywhere from 1 to 100 years. When the agreed period is up, they can choose to extend or go their separate ways. It's like a lease agreement, but for love. If you're moving to Ireland for the weather, let's say you might want to reconsider your priorities. Irish weather is about as predictable as a game of chance with a mischievous leprechaun. Wet and windy conditions are the norm, with all 4 seasons sometimes making an appearance in a single day. The World Bank Climate Knowledge Portal reported that cities like Dublin, Derry, Cork, and Kerry, being close to the sea, experience particularly damp weather. Winters are mild, but don't expect bikini weather in summer either. Temperatures typically hover between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, and remember, in Ireland, an umbrella isn't just an accessory, it's a way of life. Last but not least, let's talk about hitting the road in Ireland. If you're coming from a country whose driving license isn't recognized here, like the US or Brazil, prepare yourself for a journey more challenging than navigating a roundabout in rush hour traffic. The Road Safety Authority stated that you'll need to take a written test, learn to drive on Irish roads, and pass a driving test, a process that can take months due to the overloaded system. And once you finally get your license, brace yourself for car insurance costs that might make you consider trading your car for a horse and cart. As we wrap up our tour of the challenges of Irish life, it's clear that living on the Emerald Isle isn't always as idyllic as it might seem in travel brochures. From infrastructure issues to economic realities, From housing shortages to healthcare hurdles, Ireland presents its fair share of obstacles to overcome. But it's not all doom and gloom. Ireland still offers excellent education, a safe environment, and plenty of job opportunities, especially in Dublin. The friendly locals and rich culture continue to charm visitors and residents alike. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the lesser-known aspects of Irish life. If you've enjoyed learning about the real Ireland, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more eye-opening content from around the world. Until next time, Slántae!